I don't review games very often, but I've had a litany of people asking me to play the game for a variety of reasons. Some say it's trash, some say it's just another zombie game, but I've had one too many people saying it will fill the void Left 4 Dead has left in all of our zombie-loving hearts. It is the next Left 4 Dead. While it's a game based on the 2013 movie of the same name, and it's not based on the original book by Max Brooks, most people are wary to put faith in a game based on any movie, since most are rushed cash grabs to milk the hype of the film. Believe me, I got Shrek 2 for Xbox as a kid, and despite the constant memes around Shrek, that game was trash. World War Z, being released 6 years after the film itself, considering most zombie fans think the movie was a steaming pile of crap, me included. Now, I know there's some people that do like it, but a majority of zombie lovers do not. But I wanted to go into this game without any bias and focus on the gameplay itself. So the question of today is World War Z the next Left 4 Dead, or is it just simply trash? Before we get into the meat of the gameplay, let's take a look at the exterior, the skin of this game. There is campaign mode, which you can either play online or offline, which if you are partied up with friends online, you will be forced to play online with randoms if you don't have a full squad of 4 people. I really haven't seen an option to play with AI survivors for online mode, unless I was being completely oblivious at the time. The campaign mode is divided into 4 separate stories that each have their own unique set of survivors and 3 chapters for them to either gather supplies, escort an AI survivor to safety, or get to a rescue vehicle. That last one sounded pretty familiar, didn't it? You can pick your preference for whichever survivor you want, which it's pretty unique and makes sense to have different groups of people for the locations of New York, Jerusalem, Tokyo, and Moscow. But at the same time, having to make 4 different people meet and survive together 4 separate times in what is easily 1-hour experiences divided up into 3 20-minute episodes doesn't give them much time to get interactions and development to go through, outside of cheesy one-liners as they interact with NPCs. Although I do give them props for looking the part of where they are located. I just feel like the people that they have inserted as characters, they're just not fleshed out and they're just robots. After you decide that you want to be the girl in the group, you will next need to assign them a class. Your options are Gunslinger, Hellraiser, Fixer, Medic, Exterminator, and the Slasher, each with their own strengths, weaknesses, skill trees, toolkit, and starting loadouts. Some being vastly more OP than others. Gunslinger's a lot better than Slasher, by the way. You can progressively level up your classes and guns you pick up throughout each level to make your character stronger, with better perks like zombies flocking to C4 like Left 4 Dead's Pipe Bomb, or having extra swings with the Slasher, which you will have to grind and level up just to stand a chance in the game's 5 different choices of difficulties, which with every colored in skull, the game will make the zombies tougher, resources like meds and supplies much scarcer, and the number of times you can be incapacitated before death decreased. In Nightmare difficulty, if you go down even once, you're dead, which yes, being incapped after losing all your health and needing to be picked up by someone else is incorporated here, except now you can't fight back at all. You can't sit there and shoot with pistols or magnums or anything. You are just forced to watch other players and bitch at them until they pick you up. I did find it amazing that if you did flat out die, your character will come back to life as a common zombie and will be killable by your team. A great feature to immerse yourself a little bit better in this world, as well as acting out your passive aggression at your crappy teammate. A major downer for me and maybe some others though, the harder difficulties insist you achieve higher levels before even attempting them. The recommended levels are 5 for normal, 15 for hard, 20 for very hard, and 25 for nightmare. That means grinding against easy AI multiple times just to fare somewhat well against the zombie horde, which if you play through each of the campaigns 1 time each on easy, you should be good to go for normal or even hard. But that's if you didn't decide to switch classes between campaigns to test out which one you like the most. That's what I did, and I ended up just being low level with a bunch of different classes. It sucks that a game people are priding as the next Left 4 Dead requires you to constantly grind a character class up dozens of times just to attempt harder difficulties, feeling a lot more like Killing Floor than Left 4 Dead gameplay wise. It feels like they're just including restrictive difficulty to pad out time and replayability for the game. In Left 4 Dead, sorry to be comparing it to Left 4 Dead so much, but FFS, people are all over this being the next Left 4 Dead. But in Left 4 Dead, if you wanted to take on the hardest difficulty from the start, go right ahead. It's gonna be hard as hell, especially for a newcomer, but it's possible if you try long enough. If you boot up World War Z and attempt Nightmare difficulty, the game will be so insanely difficult because you haven't grinded for hours to get every perk and maxed out your gun to have the best attachments. While it's rewarding to get your character the way you wanted, it doesn't feel like it fits within the formula of what this game should be. You also need to grind up each specific weapon you like to get attachments and perks, most of which you will need to find randomly spawned, and hope no one picks up that gun you're trying to level up or have maxed out and can use efficiently. While having a wider variety of weapons is nice, and even wider variety of heavy weapons, half of them just feel overly powerful like anything with automatic in its title, but then you have the less effective pump shotguns and SMGs, which don't prove to be effective against swarms. It's understandable though, incentivizing players to look for more powerful weapons, but half of these guns are part of a base assigned kit for a player, which does not reflect too much in campaign as you can still kill some zombies, but in the PvP mode, oh god! I won't go over too much on the base weapons as it reminds me of Left 4 Dead, as you start from tier 1s early on, SMGs, pump shotguns, low power snipers, and get and stick with tier 2 weapons as you progress, like assault rifles, military snipers, and auto shotguns. You can also equip heavy weaponry like a 50-round assault shotgun, a grenade launcher, a chainsaw, and so much more that all prove to be quite effective at dispersing large amounts of zombies, and all are pretty much entertaining to use and handle well, especially the heavy weapons. There is also the fact you can set down automatic turrets, manual machine guns, electric fencing, and barbed wire. It reminded me of Earthfall, the other game people said was the next Left 4 Dead. However, you can only place them where the developers have designated once you have picked them up, which on one side sucks because you have less freedom in choosing how and when you want to destroy the zombies, which in Earthfall you can set them wherever you wanted, but the actual placements where the developers force you to place them aren't too bad as they are pretty effective for finale hordes. Setting traps in preparation for incoming hordes of zombies is a nice addition with the sheer number of zombies that you will be facing. But even with all these supplies, you can't really rush off on your own, if years of Left 4 Dead experience have taught me, and maybe you, anything. I do appreciate that the game is equally punishing as Left 4 Dead if you stray too far away from your team, since most people have tunnel vision and tend to rush ahead without looking out for their teammates. This punishment is done by the ludicrous amounts of zombies and special zombies that the game throws at the player. Literally hundreds of zombies can be on screen at once, and it actually works. I mean, with my experience where there was little to no bugs with the Horde because of it. One of the only cool things that the 2013 film gave us was the idea of zombies hurtling on top of each other like a pile of ants to get to higher ground. And those moments are probably the best and most exciting scenes to take part in. Mowing them down as they slowly accumulate up to your level, if you allow them to reach your high ground, they can funnel in at a snowballing rate. And if you get horded, my god do things get difficult as hell. And it's great! If you have to work as a team to make sure that shit doesn't happen, and if it does, you fight back. And if you get surrounded by 5 or 6 or even more, merely meleeing them back isn't going to work too efficiently. You will need other teammates to get them off of you. Using grenades, C4, and more, you can disperse large chunks of hordes. However, this game does have friendly fire, so be careful. Just like Left 4 Dead, it's almost a given that you are going to friendly fire people quite often. But it would get monotonous to kill the same target hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, no matter how big a clump of zombies they are, unless you account for their hilarious physics, which is not a feature, mind you. So World War Z introduced their own take on the special infected that made Left 4 Dead unique in its own regard, like the Creeper, with the Creeper and his unique ability to crouch and hiding to pounce great distances in order to hunt and pin down unwary survivors where they can only be saved by another human teammate. And then we have the Bull, who will charge in a straight line at a survivor, and if hit by their charge, he will continuously pound a survivor into the ground. They also will be wearing riot gear, so shooting them in the back is a better way of dispatching them. The Hazmat Dude is just a regular zombie, but when killed, will spit out a cloud of poisonous gas that damages you over time and temporarily partially blinds you. Now, the Screamer that... Really? Come on, really? The cut special infected from Left 4 Dead, who will scream far away from the survivors to attract more zombies, and the only way to get him to stop screaming and calling in reinforcements is to find and kill him? Like, I know you guys were keen on having special infected in your game, but could you have at least changed the name of the cut infected? Maybe call him Old Yeller? Oh wait, shit, that's the name of the old dog. Anyways, yeah, they are basically the products of the special infected from Left 4 Dead and the CETA and Cop infected having an orgy and spitting out these World War Z zombie types, but but they at least break up the monotony that is shooting the regular old zombies, but at the same time feel limited, and I hope they introduce more special zombie types in subsequent updates and DLCs. Now, trying to traverse the unique set pieces of the campaigns, there are some fun and interesting areas to go through, but honestly, not enough to soak it all in. They all look great and actually surprised me for a $40 game based on a movie. There was actual time and effort put into the buildings, environment, and lighting effects. I mean, they aren't Red Dead level of graphical content, of course, but for what it's worth, I appreciate how it all looks. But the maps themselves get rather boring after playing them over and over again. Like I said, I do appreciate the fact that you get 4 different survivors per campaign, but it does little to nothing when it comes to the replayability of the maps. You get tasked with gathering supplies to put on a train, defending an outpost, or doing escort missions. While the first 2 are tried and true Left 4 Dead staples, like counting gas cans for generators, I do have to say, including escort missions, really? Escort missions? That is such a big annoyance for me. That's my least favorite thing to do in video games. Escorting the AI survivors, specifically in this game, is just aggravating, as they tend to just slip behind even though you're keeping up with their pace, or sometimes they'll get glitched into spots where they go down and you can't even pick them back up because you're basically forced to kill yourself to reset the game because they're in a part where you can't even pick them up. No escort missions, man. I hate that shit. But that's just the campaign mode. I haven't even touched the multiplayer modes, which I'll say straight from the start are just clunky disappointments to me. They're pieces of garbage. Game types including Scavenge Raid, Vaccine Hunt, Swarm Deathmatch, Swarm Domination, and King of the Hill, where you get to sell propane and propane except where you capture a single hill, then control it to earn victory points. These are pretty standard issue game styles that have all been done before, and why even put them in here? But not what I just didn't expect it to see in a zombie-focused game that derives most of its hype from Left 4 Dead. I, in the least, expected that a zombies versus survivors mode would be included from the get-go, considering they have so many of these. They have the Hunter, the Charger, the Spitter Smoker, Ceta Agent Hybrid, and the Screamer, but alas, poor Gaben, there was no such mode. Instead, we got a pretty basic PvP experience with third-person clunky gameplay where half the guns are useless, and the only real way of killing people is to get close and spam melee for a 2-hit KO. The only way for them to really justify this multiplayer experience as something to do with World War Z is that somehow in TDM and Domination, they shoehorned in zombies that come in to distract and possibly kill you. The Scavenge mode to get supplies, aka the flag, back to base, as well as having the oddball game mode where instead of a skull, you have vaccines of the virus. And don't even get me started on how half the classes are completely useless. And worse yet, your experience from the campaign mode is completely separate from your multiplayer mode. You have to do a separate grind in multiplayer to have an advantage on others with your class perks and gun builds. And probably the worst inclusion is the fact that you are whichever class you picked in the first 15 seconds before the game starts. So if you picked Medic, you are stuck using that one class throughout one whole game, which means you're restricted with whatever gun is assigned to that class and their specific abilities. There isn't any switching classes at any time. So if you got that shitty shotgun, the pump shotgun, you're stuck with that. In Overwatch style or even Call of Duty style switch your class system between deaths would have been so crucial for this. But instead, no, you're just stuck with the class. Tough shit. There are just a few more classes you can mess around with in PvP, but a few more classes doesn't change the fact that I still think this portion of the game is lacking and is just a cookie-cutter multiplayer shooter that plays like PUBG. But man, just why? Why these game modes the way they are with what your game is all about? It just felt rushed and clunky with what was offered. It honestly felt like this multiplayer experience was shoehorned in the last couple months, kind of like how the multiplayer is in Duke Nukem Forever or Doom 2016. Nobody played those games for the multiplayer, and nobody remembered those games for the multiplayer. They're crap. So you're probably here to see my overall thoughts on this game and an artificial score to stamp on this game because, you know, numbers are what really show what I think of the game. So the game is fun if you have some friends to play with, but God help me, playing with randoms, especially on a game like this, can be a chore. So yeah, the tired old saying of, with friends it's a bit more fun. The level design is strictly okay. Not bad, not the best, and only really shines when the hordes start to come in gigantic masses. Fighting hordes of zombies, especially when they are bulking up and rising the tension, is phenomenal. God damn do I love fighting those giant hordes. The array of weapons and placeable defenses you have at your disposal give you a ton of different ways to destroy all zombies. The class system is neat and can be fun to work at perfecting over time, and if you enjoy a game like Killing Floor, you'll most likely love this game. On that note, World War Z honestly feels like an extended horde mode instead of a point A to point B chapter game like Left 4 Dead's main style, as if it's Left 4 Dead survival but with rescue vehicles, if that makes any sense. I don't really enjoy not going far or feel like I'm making progress in a smaller area just to grind for better loot to keep fighting in that same area. It's kind of pulling a Destiny and Anthem where you're just going back to the same areas just to grind to have better loot. The characters are just a flash in the pan, meaning they are just good for a comical or witty one-liner, and it's one of those jokes that makes you just go. They don't really have a natural feel to them and don't feel like they're working together. They're just four robots that are just forced together going through the motions. It really doesn't feel fleshed out, and I just really don't feel connected with them, even after playing each of the campaigns numerous times. And also that once you beat a level with a survivor, you can go watch a short cinematic on their backstory in the archives area. Although all that equates to me is an in-game Destiny Grimoire card. Relying on character profiles to explain your character is just not good writing for your actual gameplay. At least in Left 4 Dead, the characters would have randomized voice lines, so every time you get a little bit more information on what these characters are and what their backstories were all about. I'd say all of the campaigns are worth a go at least once, as it is light fun to have with your friends, especially if you go with your brain turned off for mindless fun. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying you have to be a complete dumbass to enjoy the game. It is fun. I can say that. And now I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there, but I would say this game is a 6.5 out of 10. But that multiplayer, well, it just felt so shoehorned in, generic, and lackluster that I don't even want to discuss it anymore. But it does bring the total score down to a 5.5 out of 10. The game is average at best and isn't bad, but it isn't that great either. It can be fun for some and worth a buy if they bring it down to a $20 to $25 maximum price tag. I could see it being that. But I'm sure it'll bump back up to maybe even a 7 after some updates in DLC. Now, how will this game hold up? Only time and the player base will tell. If you like this review, drop a like and comment. If you hated it, berate me in the comments for my shite opinion. But don't forget to sub and ring that bell. And hell, maybe even donate during my YouTube live streams to have the text-to-speech option say some mean stuff to me. Or you can donate to my Patreon to support my channel and have your name scroll right by on the left here. And don't forget, I have a Twitter as well, so we can have these discussions, or you can try my Discord. The links to both are in the description. And one more thing, I have shirts to rep that L4D lifestyle. I got Coach, I got Francis, and I got yours truly. So get you some. Until next time, I'm Wow Such Gaming, aka Wow, have you even played this game? You're just bad at it. Get good, kid. Zack Ass himself. Stay wow. What do we get? What do we give it? We give it a she says it's not that great.